Regina King is back in her first film in 3 years, and she plays real-life trailblazer Shirley Chisholm. Let's talk about Netflix's Shirley. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Netflix film, Shirley. You can see this streaming right now, and it stars Regina King, like I mentioned, as the 70s trailblazing woman, Shirley Chisholm. And we're going to talk about all of this here in just a second. But first, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got movie and TV reviews on the channel here, and just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot of stuff to check out. Look at the playlist on the homepage as well to sort of streamline what you're looking for maybe a little bit. But please consider subscribing, click that like button, comment below. Of course, all that stuff does help the channel out. All right, Regina King, you know, one of my favorites from way back. I mean, back to her sitcom days in the 80s, and then a lot of her blockbuster 90s films, and then, of course, her Academy Award-winning turn a few years ago in If Beale Street Could Talk. But that was actually one of the last films she did. She took a break for a few years. She had some family tragedy. I think that probably had something to do with it. But she now returns as Shirley Chisholm in this new Netflix film. So this is a story really about her presidential run in 1972. She was the first black candidate to run for a major party nomination in this country's history. So already, you know, a trailblazer in that. But the things that she had to deal with, etc., you know, even takes it, you know, a couple of steps further. But when this movie starts, she was already a famous person. She was already the first black woman to be elected to the U.S. Congress. So that's kind of where we start and then move from there. But we also have Lance Reddick here in another one of his posthumous roles. I mean, this guy had like 4 or 5 movies in the can when he passed away last year, and I believe there's only one more still coming out according to his filmography, but I think maybe he does voice work for another one or a TV show or something. But in any event, I was shocked to see him yet again. I mean, we've been seeing so many of his you know, final movies roll out over these last few months. But he has a very prominent role here. Terrence Howard, haven't seen him in a while either. He's here as well. Lucas Hedges. There's you know, a handful of people that you will recognize. And this was directed by John Ridley, and he wrote the screenplay for this as well. And he actually has an Oscar for screenwriting for 12 Years a Slave. So he's you know, obviously very accomplished in that regard. In terms of directing, he has not done a whole lot that you know, you would recognize. He more is on the writing and the producing side of things. But I think we may see a reason why here. I think the directing is one of the weaker aspects of this movie. Let's start with the positives. Regina King, I mean, she really is, I think, one of our great actresses in the last couple of decades. She really does not get, I think, the credit she deserves. In fact, most of her most famous roles are probably as side characters or as, you know, the wife of somebody. Ray Charles, you know, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire. So it's great to see that these last few years she's really been, you know, kind of making her mark. And not just in acting, in directing as well. She directed this excellent movie that I gave an A+ 2 years ago called One Night in Miami. But in terms of acting, obviously her Academy Award-winning role in the Beale Street movie. And she is great here. And it's interesting because we already had a pretty powerful performance of this same person on a miniseries a few years ago. I forget, I think it was a Showtime series or maybe FX, but it was called Mrs. America, and it had a whole bunch of like A-list stars portraying these very, very famous women from that era. And Shirley Chisholm was represented by Uzu Aduba from Orange is the New Black, and she really nailed it, but it wasn't necessarily her story. It was a lot of different women. You know, like they talked about Betty Friedan, and you know, so it was multifaceted. This focuses, you know, strictly on Shirley. And the acting here really is the standout, not just from Regina King, but Lance Reddick does a great job as well, and some of the other supporting players. But my issue comes with the basic nature of the movie and the storytelling. And this actually, it's interesting this is on Netflix because just late last year we had Rustin, which had a amazing performance. That actually got Oscar nominated as well by Coleman Domingo. But same sort of era. I think that took place maybe slightly before this, but you know, late 60s, early 70s kind of era of, you know, a huge figure for the Black community and for Black history, portrayed by this really, really wonderful actor, or, you know, actress in this case, but very, very basic on just about every other level. And so this reminded me a little bit of that. So it's interesting Netflix produced both of them. But the other thing is that because we already start with her being in the Congress, I understand we wanted to focus on the presidential run. I got that. But as a result, yes, we certainly see the trials and tribulations that she went through in those, you know, few months or a year or whatever the time span is. But there's no arc for this character. She's already, you know, an amazing, you know, tough, intelligent woman at the start of this movie, and she carries that through. That's fine, but it doesn't make for, you know, a very exciting character arc. You know, yeah, we see her kind of fall and get back up again, and fall over here and get back up again there, and all of that, and that's awesome, and you root for her, and Regina King is great in the role. But you know, maybe I would have enjoyed some background before all of that. You know, seeing what made her so tough, what made her, you know, this larger than life person. I don't know. I really don't. Because this movie, you know, didn't really dive into that. And then in terms of the directing, you know, it's just a little basic. It's one of those where a lot of times when, like, someone is talking, it's just a close-up of their face, and then the other person talks, and then it's a close-up of their face, back and forth. I never like that. It's not interesting to me. You know, show me some reactions, show me some, you know, 2 or 3 person shots. You know, that gets me going a little bit more. So, yeah, overall, unfortunately, this was a pretty basic film, tethered, though, by a couple of really great leading performances. Lance Reddick, you know, we're going to miss him, I think, for years to come, because he's left us this great body of work, and yet he never got to really be a strong leading man. And I think he probably could have. You know, most of the roles he's most famous for, he's, you know, more of a supporting character. So, and we get that here again, even though he's second billed. You know, this is certainly Shirley's movie, absolutely. But in any event, I will leave Shirley with a C+, and you can check that out on Netflix now. Just a little lower than I graded Rustin a few months ago. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.